been one exciting Libertarian nominating convention. Carla Howell, the political director. It's my pleasure to introduce our chair of the Libertarian National Committee, Nicholas Sarwark.
Good afternoon. On a second ballot, Libertarian Convention nominated Governor Gary Johnson. He received 55.8% of the vote. That was a majority, and thus he is our nominee for President of the United States. I'm ready to take questions.
What's your strategy? What's your strategy to win?
We're going to do everything we can to cooperate with the Johnson campaign. Our general counsel is here. We're going to get together, strategize, and move forward to present our agenda to the American people.
Why does the Libertarian Party have a separate ballot for vice president instead of picking them both on one ticket?
That's been in our bylaws, I think, since the founding of the party almost 45 years ago. It's our tradition, and it's a bylaws rule. Would you like to know who the candidates for vice president who have submitted sufficient tokens to have their names submitted in nomination
Yes,
are?
thank you.
Very much.
Right, as of right now, and they're still tabulating, Mr. Will Coley, C-O-L-E-Y, of Tennessee, Mr. Judd Weiss, W-E-I-S-S, from California, Mr. Larry Sharpe, S-H-A-R-P-E, from New York, Governor William Weld, W-E-L-D, currently of Massachusetts still, as a resident.
Might be New York. I'm not
It's either
sure.
Massachusetts or New York. Mr. Derek Grayson, I believe, of Georgia, G-R-A-Y-S-O-N, and Alicia Dern, D-E-A-R-N, I believe, of California.
Can you talk about what happened on the floor about the vice presidential? There was a suspension of the rules road. Can you put that in layman's terms?
I'm happy to. Historically, within the Libertarian Party, you've had to get signature tokens from credentialed delegates in order to be placed in nomination. There's a minimum of 30 that's required to be nominated for either president or vice president. It has traditionally been our practice to suspend the rules to count presidential tokens that were turned in by a presidential candidate as vice presidential tokens for purposes of vice presidential nominations for anyone who had run for president. A motion was made to suspend the rules in that manner, and it did not receive 2/3. So the only candidates who will be eligible to be nominated for the office of vice president are those who are able to submit their vice presidential tokens by the deadline of 1:16 p.m.
So does that mean that none of the defeated presidential candidates will be on the vice presidential ballot?
At present, that is the case.
What could change it since the time has passed?
Those tokens have all been turned in, but they are still being tabulated. So someone may cross the 30 token threshold in their interim. Yes, sir, in the back.
I understand there were not enough tokens being turned in to meet that threshold.
What's the question?
I thought there were not enough outstanding presidential tokens to do that.
Vice presidential tokens?
Yeah, presidential.
No, vice presidential is what we're talking about. They're a
Right.
separate system. So I don't know how many were outstanding. I don't know how many delegates didn't turn them in at all. But at this time, the names I listed are the only ones who have met the threshold.
So what kinds of things will the party and the Johnson campaign be collaborating on? For example, ballot access seems to be assured, if we're understanding correctly, in all 50 states. What actions has the Libertarian Party taken with regard to getting on the debates? How will the coordination take place between the party and the Johnson campaign?
So the coordination will take place according to whatever contract is negotiated between the party and the campaign. We hope to have that finished very soon. We have our lawyer present at the convention in order to make that happen. We'll be cooperating on ballot access and to get us to all 50 states. Right now, as you can see on the map, we're on in 32 of them, and we anticipate being on in all 50 in the District of Columbia. We'll be cooperating obviously on fundraising, on messaging, on making sure that the most people in this country hear our positive vision of a party that stands for the idea that every American has a right to pursue happiness any way they choose, as long as they don't hurt people and they don't take their stuff. That is such a positive, good alternative to two of the most hated candidates in modern politics that the two old parties have tried to stick the American people with.
You mentioned fundraising. Do you guys have early targets about what you're going to need in order to get that message across in this campaign?
We haven't come up with hard targets and probably wouldn't share them with you anyway since it's internal strategy. Next question.
Are you in talks with the Cook brothers?
There's back channel communication to suggest to the Koch brothers that the return on their political investment would be a lot higher in the Libertarian Party, and we align better with their values than the Republican Party, where donors collectively threw $166 million into a hole and lit it on fire to try and nominate Jeb Bush.
Koch brothers told NBC that was just not true, that they're not thinking about funding Governor Johnson.
I am aware that the Koch brothers, through a spokesperson, issued a denial that they had been in talks about fundraising or funding Governor Johnson's run, but that was a pre-nomination denial and unrelated to whether or not the parties reached out to them.
So do you expect them to respond favorably now?
I would hope so. Really, if they want to have a political investment in this country to advance libertarian ends, in 1983 they shifted strategies and went to funding the Republican Party in an attempt to fix it. It is not fixable. They have not gotten what they wanted out of it, and honestly, any party that can encompass Donald Trump and Rand Paul stands for nothing. So I think, being successful businessmen, that they understand the nature of return on investment, and I think that it's time for them to come home.
Actually, they only denied they would donate. They did not deny you guys were talking. Are you guys talking?
There are back channel communications to try and reach out to them. Other questions, or would you like to speak to Governor Johnson?
I'd love to speak to Governor Johnson, but staying with this for just a moment.
Sure.
Are there other major super PACs out there either being formed or that you're in contact with besides the Koch brothers? Because there are a lot of them out there that have $10, $15 million to throw around. Any others out there that you're in contact with?
I've talked to at least 3 people at this convention so far who have super PACs and are currently lacking a candidate to support.
Are they significant super PACs?
They are.
Name them?
I will not name them. Actually, I'll name one of them because it's public. Matt Kibbe, formerly of Freedom Works, is here, actually addressed our delegates on stage, and to my knowledge, does not have a candidate to support with his super PAC at this time. Any other questions before we turn it over to Governor Johnson? 10 minutes? We'll give you 10 minutes. Thank you very much.